Alright, then I say hello and welcome back to another episode of TENSHI. You want to know what happened before? Watch the last episodes or just check out the full playlist. And if you don't want to miss any of it again, then just subscribe to my channel and you don't want to miss any of the action. So let's continue. Don't waste any time. Rose, where were? Q, you're okay? I stepped over from the back wall. I had been keeping an eye on them since they had been taken through the window, which was only a few short hours ago. Kenji, thank goodness you're okay. Did they hurt you, experiment on you or anything like that? No, nothing like that, Q. They haven't laid a finger on me. Well, in a harmful way. Anyway, I've had myself go red, brushed the thoughts off like always. I'm more worried about you. What happened? Did they hurt you? No. It was more of the trip that... What's wrong? Why do I still have these? She gestured to her chest and I immediately knew what she was referring to. Even her hands were tied behind her back. I'm not sure. Do the effects of the time window usually wear off by now? Physically, yes. And I honestly don't feel any stranger than I usually do. It's as if all the estrogen went to us physically and none went to our mental states, and it caused our bodies to fatigue from overexposure. Michelle really messed up our transport. We were both silent for a moment until Q finally remembered her original worries. Where's Rose? She's fine, she's right behind you, still out like a light. She's a bit of a heavy sleeper. Don't worry. I've kept an eye on you both. They haven't done anything weird to you while you were out. I see, that's nice, I suppose. But I don't understand, Kenji. You're a captive. Why are you not bound up? It's a bit of a long story, Q. I'm not exactly going anywhere. She rubbed her hands a bit, causing her chest to bobble in place from the movements. I collected my thoughts and came up with a way of telling her. Well, first off, we're in the future. Not sure how far, but pretty far from the looks of it. Right, that makes sense. Michelle pretty much deducted that when we were trying to track your location. So this future is pretty bleak. I've seen outside and it looks like a wasteland everywhere. So basically what Krontek was trying to do was go back in time and stop it from happening. Really? She sat there and thought over my simplified version of Krontek's mission. Well, the methods aren't exactly safe. Altering time can potentially rip everything apart. They're not entirely convinced of that theory. Neither are we, really. But we just didn't want to chance destroying our own time, was all. That's why we tried to stop them all the time. But I can understand why they'd find our interfering to be a bit troublesome to them, considering their disposition. But they could have just explained themselves. I don't think you guys gave them a chance to do that. True. Tensai was furious when he saw his technology being used by someone else. Unfortunately, he didn't take into account that it might just be people from the future using his exact same technology for different purposes. Ooh, Kenji, do me a favor. What's that? Can you undo these ties, please? They are really uncomfortable. Yeah, they sort of threatened me that if you're so important to them, I doubt they'll hurt you. Plus, if what you're saying is true, I have nowhere to run anyways. Michelle is the only one who knows what or how to work the time window. Aside from Bunny and Mizuki, of course. I suppose you have a point, alright. I carefully undid her bonds, keeping an eye out for Bunny and Mizuki. After finally undoing the slightly difficult knot, Mizuki must have been trying to prevent a second escape like mine. Q was free. She sat up a bit straighter. These still have gone back down. She stared down at her chest, then around at her backside. That too, huh? I'm sure it's just because you're in an alternate time from your own. That actually makes a lot of sense somehow. We were both silent, still thinking through the logic of my situation. I got up and walked over to Rose, who was still out cold. I hope she's okay. You really care about her, don't you? Of course I do, Q. I care about both of you a lot. You've been so kind to me over the past week. No, but Kenji, I can tell that you really care about her. I turned my head, seeing her smile at me. I blushed, turning my gaze away. I mean, that doesn't mean that I don't like you too, Q. It's just... Silly Kenji, it's not a competition. I turned to look at her again, the sprightly nature back behind her words. She smiled broadly at me. I care a lot for you, Kenji. You're a guy who has been kept with 3 different girls, and yet you have been nothing but kind and gracious to all of us. That sort of guy isn't easy to find. She patted the floor next to her, and I sat. She huddled close, doing her best to comfort me. When I was back home, when I was back home studying at the University of Tokyo, you'd be surprised at the parallels and differences between our school system and yours. But guys, well, they could be just the same, just as shallow, just as fickle, and just as disrespectful. She shifted in place before continuing. Of course, there were plenty of nice guys too, but for some reason we have this stigma over here in the States that being polite and respectful towards girls like me is a bad thing. It's always confused me. Well, I don't think it's that. I think it revolves more around the idea that just because a guy is good, he feels entitled to have a girl because of his actions. I mean, that makes sense actually. We were both silent again. I could take you wanted to say something, but she wanted space in between the conversation before she brought it up. Do you ever wonder why I never really came onto you like the other girls, Kenji? Huh? Well, I mean, we still barely know each other. I thought that was the main reason. There's that. You're still a fairly new person in my life, Kenji, but I still feel as if I can trust you. It's not that though. I was always just kind of nervous. I've never been the flirty flirtatious type. The truth is, Kenji, I do like you quite a bit just for who you are. Q? I was at a loss for words. Q just beamed another one of her famous smiles at me before continuing. But I was never one to make the first move, and I knew that you were scared to do the same yourself. So I knew that this sort of thing wouldn't work out. And Rose, well, she glanced at her friend. I thought I could see a glimmer of envy, but if it was there, it was extinguishing almost immediately. She always knew which moves to make outside of battle, hehe. She turned her face to me, setting a hand on my lap. This immediately got my attention. I inhaled sharply and looked over at her. Q? Hehe, so if I can indulge just this once before I lose all my chances, I'd be honored to be your friend from here on out, Kenji. And with that, she went silent, moving her face in. I was frozen to the spot, still enamored by her words, before our lips met. We sat there, my eyes slowly closing. As the fear dripped away, I felt her hand go up to my face as the embrace continued for what felt like forever, until finally we separated. She sat back, cheeks flushed, breathing heavily. I knew it wasn't that much different from her condition at the moment. It took a while before either of us spoke. Q? What exactly? We don't have to speak of this again if you don't want to, Kenji. Just know I'm here for you always if you need me, okay? I mean, how do you really expect me to take that? Yeah, I know. Not the most romantic setting, I suppose. She was obviously flustered, not expecting my response. It was kind of just spur of the moment, sorry. No, it's fine. It was nice, really, it was, I just didn't expect it, and you know, these sorts of things don't just go away, and yeah, I guess I should have thought that through a bit better. Before we could talk it out any further, Rose shuffled from our mutterings, her eyes flittering open wide slowly. And what will Rose have to say? You will find out in the next episode. For now, this will be it. If you liked it, leave a thumbs up, leave a commentary. And if you don't want to miss any of the action, then subscribe to my channel and tune in tomorrow again when it's time to let's play TENSHI. Little romantic episode this time, but next time I think there will be a bit more action. Or a bit more action with Rose. We will see, I don't know. Then goodbye, your pacemaker.